Imagine spending 15 years hunting for a child, going hungry so they could eat, risking your life so they could live. And then one night, you look at that child sleeping beside the fire, and one thought enters your mind that you can never take back. Is this child actually mine? For almost all of human history, though, there was no way to know, no test, no proof, no certainty, and that one question quietly shaped everything. We know about love, marriage, and jealousy today. Part 1. The Greatest Gamble in Human Evolution. Here's something most people never think about. In nature, a mother always knows. From the moment a child leaves her body, the biological connection is undeniable, absolute, certain. But a father has never had that same certainty. Scientists call this paternity uncertainty, and for ancient humans, the stakes could not have been higher. Food was scarce. Every hunt risked death. Every meal was survival. Think about what it actually meant to raise a child in the ancient world. Not months, years, sometimes over a decade of feeding, protecting, and teaching a small human who could not survive alone. If a man invested all of that into a child that wasn't biologically his own genetic line, simply disappeared. No second chances, no do-overs. In the brutal math of evolution, raising another man's child by mistake wasn't just personal loss. It was the end of your bloodline, and your brain right now, still carries the ancient scars of that primal fear. Part 2. The emotions that built civilization. Why does betrayal hurt so deeply? Why does jealousy feel like a physical wound? Why do humans, across every culture, every continent, every era in recorded history, share these same, intense reactions to infidelity? Many researchers believe the answer goes back to this one ancient biological problem. A man who ignored warning signs, who shrugged off suspicion, may have spent his entire life investing in another man's offspring, over thousands of generations. The men who felt jealousy strongly, who reacted to threats against their relationships, may have been more likely to protect their investment. And so those emotions survived. They spread. They deepened. Not because jealousy is noble, but because in the ancient world, it may have been necessary. Think about it this way. Every culture that ever existed developed some form of jealousy. Every single one. That is not a coincidence. That is evolution, leaving its mark on who we are. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Emotions alone weren't enough, so ancient humans invented something far more powerful. A social contract, a system that still shapes your life. Today, they invented marriage. Part 3. The original purpose of marriage. Forget everything romantic movies have told you. Early marriage was almost certainly not born from love. Anthropologists believe the original function of long-term pair bonds was far more practical, to reduce paternity uncertainty. By creating a social and cultural system of exclusivity, men gained something they had never had before. Reasonable confidence, not proof, not certainty, but enough confidence to stay. And staying, that changed everything. A man who believed a child was his was more likely to hunt for it, protect it, teach it, build a shelter around it. Researchers have found that stable paternal investment doesn't just help individual children survive, it has helped entire communities grow. When men stayed, families formed. When families formed, cooperation became possible. When cooperation became possible, civilization, slowly, painfully, began. And here is the part most people never consider. The father who stayed didn't just feed one child. He taught that child how to hunt, how to build, how to survive. The decision to stay was the first brick of civilization. The skyscrapers, the roads, the hospitals, the phones in your pocket. All of it built on a foundation that began with one man sitting beside a fire, asking himself, "Is this child mine?" Part 4. Searching for the father's face. Without DNA, ancient humans became detectives. They searched for clues, the only place they could. In the face, the shape of the nose, the angle of the jaw, the curve of the eyes. Even today, when a baby is born, the first thing people say isn't about personality, it's about resemblance. He has his grandfather's eyes. She looks exactly like her mother. Research confirms. This isn't just small talk. Humans are neurologically wired to search for biological connection in physical similarity. Your brain does it automatically, scanning, comparing, calculating. It's an ancient system, running quietly beneath your modern thoughts. But resemblance was never perfect. Children look like distant relatives. Children look like no one. Children look different at different ages. Physical similarity was a clue, not an answer, which is why some ancient cultures gave up on finding the answer entirely and built something completely different instead. Part 5. The child with many fathers. Not every ancient society became obsessed with knowing who the father was. Some communities developed a concept that sounds impossible to modern ears. A child could have multiple fathers. Before modern biology, people explained pregnancy using the world as they observed it. If a woman had been with more than one man, some cultures believed each man had contributed something to the child growing inside her. And this belief, strange as it sounds, had a real survival advantage. More fathers meant more protectors, more providers, more adults invested in keeping that child alive. In environments where resources were extreme and death was constant, the survival of the group mattered more than any individual's bloodline. A child wasn't just one family's future. A child was the tribe's future. And sometimes, protecting that future meant letting go of the question entirely. Thousands of years passed. Humans built villages, then kingdoms, then religions, and laws, and science, and eventually a machine that can read your DNA and tell you the truth in 48 hours. But something inside us never fully changed. We still crave loyalty. We still fear betrayal. We still search for our own reflection in the faces of the people we love. Because deep inside your modern brain, there is still an ancient human, a man sitting beside a dying fire, his family sleeping around him, his hands rough from years of hunting. He looks at the child he has fed and protected and would die for, and in the silence of that ancient night, a question rises that no one around him can answer. Is this child truly mine? For hundreds of thousands of years, no one could, until science finally did. The next episode answers a question, just as dark, just as human. How did ancient humans actually keep their children alive? Subscribe now, so you don't miss it. And if this story stayed with you, leave a comment below. We read every single one.